Good morning friend, welcome on Knowledge News channel friend. Today we will discuss a new topic, pollination. We have already discussed about the pre-fertilization events in male reproductive system and in female reproductive system. For the better knowledge, see my video of microsporogenesis, microgametogenesis, microspores, megasporogenesis and megagametogenesis. Today we will discuss pollinations. For better description, see my video of pollination. We will describe here pollination. For the pollination processes, see the flowchart of pollination. First of all, we define the pollination. Pollination is a process of transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma by any agency. That process are known as pollination. See the figure of pollination. See the figure. Here, the pollen grains are released from the anther lobe, which are transferred by any agency and which are settled on the surface of the stigma. Such transferring process are known as pollination and such process are known as pollination. जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं, नंबर्स ऑफ पोलिन ग्रेन्स एंथर लूप से रिलीज हो रहे हैं और विद द हेल्प ऑफ एजेंसी they are settled over the surface of stigma. That process are known as the pollinations. Now we will define here the pollinations. Transferring of pollen grain from anther to stigma, that are known as the pollinations. Now come on the next topic, types of pollinations. See the flowchart. See the flowchart of pollination. Depending on the source of pollen, pollination can be divided into three types. Number first one is the autogamy, number second one is the genogamy, and number third one is the genogamy. We will describe here autogamy. Autogamy, a pollination of flower by its own flower pollens. In this case, the flower pollinated its own pollen grain. Such type of pollination is known as autogamy pollination or self-pollination. See the figure of autogamy. See the figure of autogamy. In this case, the anthers release their pollen grains after maturity, and these pollen grains settle over the surface of stigma of their own stigmatal surfaces. That process or that types of pollination is known as the autogamy. जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं, एक फ्लावर है, फ्लावर बाइसेक्सुअल है, एंथर लोब से पोलिन ग्रेन निकलते हैं और निकलकर स्टिग्मा के सरफेस पर जाकर सेटल डाउन हो जाते हैं. तो ये एक ही फ्लावर के अंदर पोलिन ग्रेन जो है ट्रांसफ़र हो रहा है, इसलिए इस तरीके के पोलिनेशन को ऑटोगैमी पोलिनेशन और सेल्फ पोलिनेशन कहा जाता है. नाउ कम ऑन द फ्लो चार्ट ऑफ पोलिनेशन. नाउ द नेक्स्ट काइंड ऑफ pollination is genogamy. What is the definition of genogamy? When pollen of a flower pollinate any other flower present on the same plant, it is called genogamy. See the figure of genogamy. See this figure. The pollen grain released from the flower first, and that pollen grain are settled over the surface of stigma of the flower second. Both flowers are present on the same plants. Such type of pollination are known as genogamy. जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं, एक ही प्लांट पर दो फ्लावर्स हैं, एक फ्लावर का पोलन ग्रेन दूसरे फ्लावर के पोलन ग्रेन और दूसरे फ्लावर के स्टिग्मा पर जाकर सेटल डाउन हो जा रहा है। इस तरीके के पोलिनेशन को जीटिनोगैमी कहा जाता है। नाउ कम ऑन द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ पोलिनेशन। नाउ द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ पोलिनेशन इज genogamy. Genogamy. What is the definition of genogamy? Transfer of pollen grains from anther of the flower on one plant to the stigma of the flower on another plant is called genogamy. In this case, the pollen grains transfer from a flower of a plant to the another flower's stigma of another plant. That process, such type of pollination are known as genogamy. That pollination is also known as the cross pollination or allogamy. Genogamy is also classified or categorized into number of group according to using different types of agency. Now first one is the hydrophily. Hydrophily. What do you know about hydrophily? Pollinations take place by the agency of waters. Such type of pollinations are known as hydrophily. Examples of hydrophily is Vallisneria and Hydrilla. See the figures of hydrophily. See the figure of Vallisneria. This is the male plants and this is the female plants. Male plants bear male flowers, number of male flowers which are released in water, while the female plants form female flowers. Now that male flowers come in the contact of the female flowers, they become fertilized. They get pollinated by the male flower. Water is a medium which are helpful in such type of pollination process, so that pollination is known as hydrophily. Now come on the next type of cross pollination. See the flow chart. Next type of cross pollination is Drouphili. Drouphili is a pollination that is carried out by the agency of animal is called Drouphili. Depending on the types of animals involved, Drouphili is divided into many kinds. Number first one is the Animophily. Here the pollinating agent is insects. Next one is the Ornithophily. Here the pollinating agents are birds. Next one is the Chiroptrophily. Here the pollinating agents are bats. Malcophily. Here the pollinating agents are snail and slugs. And Myrmecophily. Here the pollinating agents are ants. 80% of pollinations take place by animals is the Animophily. So that here we will describe the Animophily. See the figure of Animophily. See the figure of Animophily. Here this is the yucca flower. Yucca flowers are pollinated with the help of a moth. Their name is Pronuba. That moth play a very important role in a pollination of yucca flower. Moth and the plant cannot complete their life cycle without each other. The moth deposits its egg in the lacule of the ovary, and the flower in turn gets pollinated by the moth. The larvae of moth come out of the egg as the seed start developing. In this way, that yucca flowers is pollinated by the Pronuba moth. Now come on the second examples of cross pollinations take place by insect. This is the next example of Animophily. This is the Aristolachia flower. This tube is swollen at the base. Its lining is slippery and furnished with deflagged hair. This is the deflagged hair. The fly entering the flower cannot escape due to the hair. These flowers are protandrous. When the anther descends, the fly become laden with the pollen grain. By this time, hair on the perianth tube wither and the fly escape from the old flower. When these fly enter a young flower that are cross pollinated is brought about. जैसा कि आप फिगर में देख रहे हैं, ये एक अरिस्टोलाचिया का फ्लावर है। अरिस्टोलाचिया का फ्लावर्स जिसका बेस जो है आप देख रहे हैं, यहाँ पर बेस स्वोलन है, फूला हुआ है, स्लिपरी होता है, यहाँ पर डिफ्लेक्स्ड हेयर्स होते हैं और ये बहुत ज़्यादा स्लिपरी होता है। जैसे ही कोई भी इंसेक्ट्स यहाँ पर आता है, वो इंसेक्ट स्लिप करके यहाँ पर इस बेस में गिर जाता है। जहाँ पर बहुत सारे जो होते हैं एंथर्स होते हैं, वो एंथर डेहिस्केंस होते हैं। यानी एंथर डेहिस्केंस मतलब एंथर जब बस्ट करते हैं तो पोलन ग्रेन्स रिलीज होते हैं। वो पोलन ग्रेन जो होते हैं इनके सरफेसेस पर लग जाते हैं और जब फ्लावर मैच्योर हो जाता है तो ये डिफ्लेक्स्ड हेयर जो होता है वो विदर्ड अवे हो जाता है, ख़त्म हो जाता है और फ्लाई जो इंसेक्ट्स होते हैं वो आसानी से इससे निकल जाते हैं और किसी यंग फ्लावर को ये पोलिनेट कर देते हैं। दिस इज द बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल, फ्लावर शोइंग द पिथफॉल मैकेनिज्म। नाउ कम ऑन द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ क्रॉस पोलिनेशन। नाउ द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ क्रॉस पोलिनेशन इज एनिमोफिली। Pollination take place by the wind. That pollination are known as the Animophily. See the figure of Animophily in your NCERT book. See the figure of Animophily in your NCERT book. Here the pollen grains is released from the compact inflorescence and well exposed stamens from one flower to another flower. In this way, the pollinations take place. Here the winds participates in pollination, or wind act as an agency in pollination, so that such type of pollination is known as Animophily. In such type of pollination, their pollen grain is sometimes a special types, so that these pollinations are very helpful, and such type of pollination is generally present in grasses. आई थिंक आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आएगा। मैंने ये वीडियो पोलिनेशन के ऊपर बनाया है। थैंक यू, हैव अ नाइस डे।